It's November 2025 and MCP is about to turn 1 year old. MCP is amazing because it gives your agents superpowers or the ability to take actions and interact with third-party services. By the way, if you're interested in building agents, feel free to check out Inkeep, an agent framework which allows you to build agents with or without code. A link is in the description to get you building agents in just 3 easy steps. Okay, back to MCP. What better way to celebrate MCP's birthday than to go over the 3 ways to build an MCP server in 2025? Those ways are 1. Building it using code, 2. Using a platform like Composio where you can use their pre-built MCP servers, and 3. Converting your open API spec into an MCP server using Gram. But before we dive into how to create MCP servers, I'll first show you how you can test your MCP server using the MCP inspector from Anthropic. First, type in MCP inspector into your search bar, and you're going to want to go to the first link from Anthropic's site. You're going to want to copy the installation command, open your terminal, paste the command into your terminal, and run it. Once you run it, it'll automatically open a tab in your browser where you can then start testing your MCP servers. Simply put your MCP URL in the URL input field and click connect. It'll then give you an option to list your tools, and you can finally see your tools with the inputs on the right-hand side. The fact that the status indicator is green, it says connected, and we can see a list of our tools means that the MCP server is healthy and running. This will be the goal when we create our MCP servers. The first way to create an MCP server is using code. There are a few frameworks out there. FastMCP, Anthropic's SDK, Gram Functions SDK from Speakeasy, XMCP, but my personal favorite is Vercel's MCP SDK. You could start by cloning their MCP server template. Simply search MCP Next.js GitHub, and you're going to want to click on the second link, MCP for Next.js. You're next going to want to clone the template down into your local machine. Let's open our terminal, and then run git clone our repository and example MCP as the name. Next, we can open up the template in our IDE. In the route.ts folder, you can define your tool name, the description, the inputs with type safety, as well as the logic of the MCP tool itself. I've created a get coordinates tool, which takes in an address which I've typed as a string and uses the OpenMateo API to convert natural language locations into latitude and longitude coordinates and return those coordinates. What's important is that you are descriptive as possible, not only in the inputs, but the description of the tool, as well as the error messages that your tool might throw. Once you're finished creating your tools, to deploy, simply go to the terminal and run vercel-prod. What this is going to do is deploy your MCP server to Vercel. Once it's deployed, we can go to Vercel and we'll notice that our example MCP server is there for us to use. When we click into it, we can copy and paste the URL. We can then go back to the MCP inspector from before. We'll want to do https:// the URL, and importantly, put /MCP. Once we hit reconnect and list our tools, we could see that the get coordinates tool that we defined is there, and it has address as an input field. Let's try to get the coordinates of San Francisco. We can run our tool right from the MCP inspector, and as we could see, it spit back out a longitude and latitude. However, MCP servers can require a lot of work to build. What if you just want one that works right out of the box, like a Gmail MCP server? While I did mention in the beginning that you can use Composio MCP for pre-built MCP servers, it seems like as of this recording, Composio MCP is depreciating, and I've checked out their new platform called Rube. However, I haven't found a way to actually connect with third-party services like Gmail directly. So instead, we're going to use Zapier MCP. Once you create your Zapier MCP account, go ahead and click New MCP Server and select a client. In this case, I'll select Other so I can attain the MCP URL link and give a name to your MCP server, which in this case is Gmail MCP. Go ahead and create your MCP server and add any tool of your choosing. And in this case, we'll want to add the Find Email tool and connect to it. Finally, we can go to the Connect tab and we see that there's a URL for us to copy. We can go to the MCP inspector, paste in the URL, and then click Connect. We can list our tools and see that we have the Find Email tool available to us. We could put instructions into our tool to find the email, and our query can be Dave. And when we run the tool, we could see that we've found an email involving Dave. The third and final way to create an MCP server is to take your Open API spec and convert it into one using Gram. Simply go sign up for a Gram account, and once you're signed up, go to the MCP tab and click Get Started. Here, you can start from an API and drag and drop your Open API spec in. Give your API a name, in this case it's Analytics, and click Continue. As we can see here, Graham has taken this Open API spec and converted it to a ton of tools that we can access. Let's hit the continue button and hit continue again. What's neat about Graham is that you can actually test your MCP server in their playground. You can see all the tools that your MCP server has. You can even supply it with auth variables. When you're ready to expose your MCP server, go to the MCP tab, click public, and then copy the hosted URL. Back in our MCP inspector, we can put the URL in the input field, and finally see a list of our tools that are Open API spec generated. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. What type of content would you like to see? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Want to take the next step and actually build agents which leverage these MCP servers? Then follow our Quickstart guide in the description below, where you can get up and running with your first Inkeep agent in just 3 easy steps. Thanks for watching.